Hello there. This is Frank with Iron Age News. It's Thursday, September 18th, around 3 o'clock, and the sun's beating down. As you can tell, the filter is exploding. But we're going to talk about a different filter and the greatness of it all. I don't know if any of you, and we don't normally do anything to do with hip hop. You know, hip hop is not our thing, not since the 80s and 90s. But there was a show that was brought to our attention, happened just the other day. Radio show called The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God, who is probably one of the biggest dickheads I think I have ever seen, and he's finally got his comeuppance. Those of you who did not see the Larry Elder episode, where Larry sort of stomped him out for him using the N-word on Larry, good thing. Now we have my new favorite person, a guy named Dame Dash, who those of you in the hip hop world will know who he is. Look him up. Very interesting cat. And we're going to talk what the bigger picture is of what occurred with Dame Dash's explosive confrontation with Charlemagne the God on the Breakfast Club. And it's not just a spat over titles or reputations or how many D's that Charlemagne's put in his A. It may have been the first open strike against the liberal gatekeepers of black culture. So let's talk about that incident itself. Dame Dash sat across from Charlemagne and essentially called him out, not just on personal grounds, but on credibility and loyalty. He accused Charlemagne of having hidden motives, of undermining him, and even went as far as suggesting that Charlemagne's energy towards certain people looked more like obsession or allegiance than journalism. Truthfully, Charlemagne's not a journalist. He's a radio talk show guy. He's not a shock jock, but he's close. But he did say a lot of things that were kind of damaging to Dame, especially since he had no real foundation for it. So on the surface, like I said, this sounds like another Breakfast Club blowout. But if you zoom out, it's part of a larger shift in the cultural battlefield. Okay, for years, this guy Charlemagne and the Breakfast Club were untouchable. They were the voice of urban culture, the platform where politicians went to win credibility in the black community. If you remember the famous Joe Biden, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black line, that occurred on the Breakfast Club, where Charlemagne did his best step and fetch it routine. It was exactly what you think. And that should have been the first indication that there were problems. But the tide is turning. Moderates and business first voices in Black America are pushing back. Okay. This is not so much political. It's business, it's economics, it's all that. Okay. They're tired of these liberal elites using the culture as a delivery system for ideology while real problems, you got the crime, schools, family structure, economics, and everything get worse. Dame's attack on Charlemagne is symbolic. It says the gatekeepers are vulnerable now. Would he have gone and outed Charlemagne 5 years ago? Don't think so. Don't think so at all, right? So that was the real thing that we're standing on here. And since I mentioned it, I guess we have to say it. And don't want us to get censored. But the idea was Charlemagne was riding Dame pretty hard. And Dame came across and said, well, I know you're homosexual quite some time, blah, blah, blah. And he went on to name his reasons why he thought Charlemagne was a homosexual, which is different than calling him a cocksucker. I would have called him a cocksucker because he is. That doesn't mean he's actually out there sucking cocks. It means that he is a different kind of person than one would want to deal with on a daily basis. But Dame obviously went and took the high road. Okay, so that's fine. So that was like a point in that whole story there. When it was done, it's done. Because that's what happens with a lot of these shows. They've given a big offense because they have no defense. Here, Dame pulls the curtain aside and says, this is what everyone's afraid of. This little guy, Come on now, player, right? So now, as they say, we have a new wave that are coming up. And if you see it, and once again, I don't follow this industry very much, but I have seen some of these guys, and I know people who do work in the industry. And they are, as they would say, standing on business, right? What's coming next is bigger. There is a rising generation of entertainers and entrepreneurs and moguls who are, as they say, standing on business, putting ownership, independence, and economics first. They don't want to buy into the endless wokeisms, the victimhood politics, or the manufactured culture wars that are being pushed by the left. These up and comers see the market clearly. There are billions with a B of dollars in hip hop, any type of other urban music, and black media. There are millions of listeners who do not want to be lectured. They want, they want good songs, they want authenticity, opportunity, and they want results. A wide open lane for those who will put business before politics. Quick examples would be, if you know Ryan Coogler, the producer, uh, both Black Panther films. Was He's a producer and a director. Both Black Panther films. Creed. He came out with the most innovative reimagining of a vampire film in since Near Dark in the film The Sinners. Right? He is I'll give him credit as being a newer person. He hasn't had to sit there. Maybe he has, I don't know. But that's an example of the kind of money that can come in and it can be spread through these different people, right? You don't have the Jay-Z's and Beyonce standing on everybody's throat, just giving you a little squirt of the tit every once in a while. You know, are you making the money? Are you not? All these older guys that have been around for 25 years that are holding the contracts over these guys' heads doesn't have to go that way. And now the people are starting to realize, I don't need this shit. I don't need a guy like that on a radio show, which nobody really listens to except that they're going to crash out, right? So that whole situation is starting to move and good for them, because like I said, they used to talk about Black Wall Street. They used to have their own film industry way back when. Why did they give that up? Why would you have given any of this stuff up? It wasn't like the army came and made it stop. The black entertainment market has always been huge, huge market. They made it sound like it didn't exist for years, you know? And they make it sound like only 5 or 6 people are cool enough or have the ear enough to tell an entire culture inside the United States, however many million of them there are, that this is the coolest music since sliced bread. And it's not true. Everybody should have as much right to listen to shitty stuff as the white people have to have. God, fucking Zach Brown band, right? So this is I consider this a shot across the bow. Dame Dash didn't intend it to happen this way. I'm sorry, I'm building you up. I know you're not Kanye, who we always build up around here, but your shot is the new civil war inside black entertainment. You bust this guy Charlemagne's ass up, all right? That's going to put this old establishment, which is beholding to the man. It is. It is beholding to the man, right? Against a younger, more pragmatic generation. You don't need the big studio systems. You see what can be done, right? You can record a record in your. I mean, I remember seeing Kanye recording like 2 or 3 songs like in the living room of a hotel somewhere, and that was when they were doing the song we can't talk about on here. And then he had all the guys in the parking lot somewhere in Los Angeles doing the chorus part. It was crazy. It was guerrilla production at its finest. It's what made music edgy and interesting, outside of classical music, of course. But this is starting to move. Those of you who are involved in that industry, guys, congratulations. You're in at the beginning of a next generation. As all this other shit tumbles down and fails, boom, you're going to be like a rocket because you don't need Warner Brothers or whoever or Rockefeller or any of these other bullshit guys that just rob you. You ever see a couple of, I only bring this up is if you see rappers in the last 15 years talk about their experiences with the record companies, it sounds like you're talking to Little Richard or Chuck Berry or Bo Diddley. They get those half penny contracts and this and that, and they give them 150,000 up front, and then they all living with their moms and this and that and the other shit, right? It's all going to go away because you want to do music a certain way, and they say unless you dress up in assless chaps, you aren't going to get the big money. Unless you make whatever, sell out, or wear the dress, as some people would say, then you're never going to get near the big money. Well, you don't have to wear the dress anymore, guys, because it's all starting to move, and you are the motivators. So if Charlemagne falls from grace, and it wouldn't just be about him, it will represent the fall of an entire political monopoly that has controlled a culture. The implications are massive. Like I said, new platforms, rappers and moguls, any type of musician along those lines will be freer to align themselves outside of a political machine. Audiences will get more diverse voices. You won't have the same shit over and over and over again, unless you like that. Not just the approved script, right? And the gatekeepers, they'll either adapt to this new business first reality or they're going to be replaced. So when you look back at this Dame Dash interview, which I suggest you look at on YouTube, because there's more to it, I'm just using his punch, his counterpunch towards Charlemagne's dogpiling on him about his business dealings, which Charlemagne seems to know absolutely nothing about because these guys are also shady with what they do. It's very hard to tell what's happening until after somebody gets a lawsuit on them. So it's not just as a gossip thing. See it as a first crack in the armor of cultural liberal dominance. The age of automatic loyalty is ending. All right, guys. The age of business first moguls is rising. And like Dame Dash made clear, when the gatekeepers can't hold the line anymore, the floodgates open. So, with that, have a good day, and I'll talk to you later on.